All right, it's Monday, September. It's almost 9/11. I was in second grade when that happened. I remember I sat in the back row of Miss Backus's class, and that was back when every classroom still had the little like 12-14 inch, old style glass screen brick of a TV hanging up on the wall mount in the corner of the room. And I remember them turning it on, and we watched the second plane hit. I remember it. And then we had I can't even remember how long it was after the second plane hit, and then they shut school down, and I don't even think we went to school the next day. We might have had more than one day off after that, but yeah, I remember sitting in school and watching the second plane hit. Heck of a thing. And look at the mess we've made of everything since. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that, although we should remember 9/11, because that affected more than just us, because while it didn't directly affect the rest of most of the Western world that particular day, the rest of the Western world felt it in all of the preceding bombings and whatnot that occur over the next couple of years. It was a hell of a mess. But anyway, it's been raining all day. Looks like we got about 8/10 so far ish. Most of it came this morning, and it's just kind of been, come on, get back in your hook. And then the rest of the day it's just kind of been doing this nasty enough to make you not really want to go outside and do anything kind of crap. So we are obviously not going to be working on the 7300 today, because I'm not going to work on that out in the rain. So we're going to get the 87 dug out of the corner and get her ready for a little bit of fall maintenance. I can't remember what I got to do to get it out. Shed a little light on the situation, because the tractor's going to have to move anyhow. I think I just gotta, well, I obviously gotta move the cart. And if I got room to sneak forward a little more, which I do, I don't even think I'm gonna have to move the drill. If I can move forward some and then cut her hard, I think I'm gonna try it. Haven't had any mice in the cab since I moved it over here in this corner. I've had traps in there since with peanut butter on them, and it hasn't even been so much as a nibble, and there hasn't been any more activity. This winter I'll still have to pop the seat out of there and see if I can find an upholstery shop that'll put new foam in it, because you can't, I mean, the hole that they ate in the foam isn't overly huge, but if you sit right you can feel it, and it's annoying. I gotta believe it wouldn't cost that much, just since the rest of the seat's in good shape. I gotta believe it wouldn't cost that much to have an upholstery shop just put new foam in it. Oop. Tell you what, I hate this weather. This transition summer to spring, temperature swing, kind of. I really don't mind this weather, except for this weather doesn't like me ever since I was a little kid. And it has gotten better, but for a couple weeks in the spring and a couple weeks in the fall, when the weather's doing that change, it takes my sinuses and just messes them all up, which really sucks, because I was finally getting over being sick, and now it started doing this, and now my sinuses are all screwed up again. But it has gotten a little better, because I remember back in middle school there was a couple year time period where same thing, couple years in the fall, couple weeks in the fall, couple weeks in the spring, my joints would hurt so bad I couldn't hardly function. So I'm glad that that part's not happening anymore. Put the hood down. I came in here the other day to check filter numbers. Coolant level is, I mean, it's just like low enough that, or just barely low enough, and then once the engine gets a little warm and the coolant expands a little bit, so I got to dump a little teeny weeny bit of coolant in there. There we go. I didn't like that alternator light being on. Alright, we'll wiggle this thing out of the corner, hopefully, maybe. That's what we're gonna do. Cut it hard this way to swing the rear end out. I'm gonna get this cobweb out of here. Yeah, we're gonna make it. Basically what I gotta do, you go under the seat and you get down in here, and there's a fiber friction disc and a spring and all that crap in there. You gotta take that apart and clean it up, and then this thing runs smooth as silk until you let it sit over the winter, and then it gets sticky again. Which does not make maneuvering in tight spots like this very friendly. Oh yeah, we're good. All right, I'm probably not gonna go too far on this thing tonight, but while it's still warm, I want to get the oil drain in. We can get her opened up and get all the shields out the way and whatnot. So it works out really nice. You got your release handle here for the rock trap, so you just take a 5-gallon bucket and you put the lid on crossways, and then you can hook it here on this handle, and the hose will drop right down in there in the spout of the bucket, and you don't got to worry about anything leaking or getting away from you. I just do want to make sure that I have, because I'm always worried about it, make sure that I got the hose for the drain pan, because there's another hose floating around here somewhere for the hydraulics, and we don't want to drain that because ATF is too expensive to waste like that. It did take me a minute to get to this point. I had to finally had the need to set up my waste oil barrel, so I got that done, and I didn't have a funnel that I wanted to use, so I was looking at it. It's like, you know, they make those fancy things that sit on the top of the barrel and sit down in the bung, and so you could dump oil buckets in there and whatnot. And I'm like, well, obviously I don't have anything that would be that big, but if you take a 5-gallon bucket, snap the lid on, and then, you know, cut it off 6 inches or so from the top, and then you take the spout and stick it out and stick it down in there. It's basically the same thing. So I took a 5-gallon bucket and made my own barrel funnel. Worked pretty good. All right, that's draining, so we can let that cook, and we'll go up top. Okay, I need my flat screwdriver. You hear a lot of guys complain about working on this style of machine where you got the engine next to the cab, which obviously Oliver went that route, or Oliver, as far as I know, Oliver was actually the first one to bring this design out in 1960 68. Whenever the 55-55 came out, which would have been the biggest one in the lineup of the 25, 35, 545, which was basically a production prototype for what would become the 7600. But I'm pretty sure Oliver was actually the first one to have this layout. Then obviously Deere came out with it when they came out with the 4400, 6600, 7700, 3300, that series. And then IH never used it. Gleaner never used it. Was it just Oliver and Deere went down that route? That's the only two I can think of offhand. But anyway, this thing, compared to working on my boss's 7720, is a walk in the park. I hate working on that 7720. There's nothing fun about working on that machine, at least in, well, actually overall that machine just sucks to work on, and it sounds like a lot of people feel the same way about the 20 series Deeres. My buddy had a 6600. That machine wasn't bad to work on. I don't know what changed between the 100 series and the 20 series, but the 20 series is just miserable to work on, and I don't know why. I can't put my finger on what changed, but compared to both of them, especially working on the drives under the cab, I'll take working on this over working on those any day. Just my opinion. You don't got to agree with it, but anyhow, I got one bolt right here that doesn't want to come undone yet. Bye. It's never been a problem before. There we go. This can go away. Alright, there's that. Alright, we're going to call it here for the evening because I have to go find something to be able to catch the fuel and the oil from taking the filters off, because all the containers that I normally would use are full of random hardware from a couple of projects Shelly's been working on, so I got to go find something else now. Plus I got to go to Mom and Dad's anyhow and get another jug of oil because I've only got 10 quarts here. So yeah, we'll catch you guys tomorrow and hopefully knock out the vast majority of this. So until then, all right, we're back. Today was a lot nicer out. At least there was some blue sky. You'd have a gray cloud like that come over and it'd rain for like 5 minutes, not hard, and then the sun would come out, and it's just kind of been doing that on and off all day, which I'll take that over what we had yesterday. Yesterday was kind of made it really hard to get up the gumption to do anything. But anyhow, I got all my stuff to finish changing the oil in this. I also remembered today while I was thinking about it that I have to figure out why the manifold heater on this isn't working. Hopefully it's just the relay. That would be the easiest fix. So after I get done with all this, I'm gonna have Dad come over and help me diagnose that, because I can't hit the button and hold the leads on the meter and all that crap all at the same time from inside the cab. So it's gonna be a two-person job. But rather than video all the oil change crap, the run-of-the-mill boring, I'm gonna go ahead and get all that done, and then we'll come back to you guys when we start working on that cylinder, that manifold heater issue. So we'll catch you in a little bit. Well, the manifold heater problem might be easier to solve than I initially thought. I was waiting for the filter to drip off so I could pull it all the way off the housing, and I stood up for a minute to look at the manifold heater, and wouldn't you know it, the wire for it is just sitting here. I don't know if that's going to take care of it, but we can hit the button real quick and find out. I don't know. Da-da-da-da. Finally. Okay, is the manifold warm? The manifold is warm. Well, that was easy. Those are the best kind of fixes. I can't believe that's all it was. I guess I don't know what would have pulled the wire off, because I mean, I could probably, I should see if I got some electrical terminal cleaner, because that wire's kind of scuzzy, but it's also a goofy size spade. The thing's like half again wider than a normal one, so you kind of need that end. It ain't like I can crip a new one on it. But anyway, that takes care of that. Alright, oil's changed, fuel filters are changed, air cleaner's taken care of, it's all greased. I've checked all the belts that you can easily see. Well, you can pretty much see all of them, so I've checked all the belts. Nothing out of the ordinary there. All I've got left as far as checking it over is tomorrow. Hopefully I got better daylight and I actually want to pull it outside and set the feeder house down so I could check the cylinder bars. They were new bars, so but it's part of combine inspection. You just check them and open up the walkers and see if I can get down in there and check the walkers over real quick. So yeah, I got a heck of a diesel mess going on in her typical fashion. She was really stubborn when it came to priming back up. It took me 6 shots to finally get it to take prime. That's just, I don't know why. That's the way this thing's been since the day I brought it home. I don't know why. It does not like to prime back up once you've had the fuel system opened up. It's just that I can't explain it. You crack all the bleeders. There's 2 bleeder screws on the pump and a bleeder screw on the filters. You crack all 3 of them loose. Get all your air out of the filters, tighten that up. Get all the air out at the pump screws, tighten them back up, fire it up, it'll run for 10 seconds, die. Open all the screws back up, got more air in it. Repeat the process, tighten everything back up, start it up, run for 10 seconds, die. Open everything back up, got more air in it. Don't ask me where all that air hides. It hides in there somewhere. The 7300 kind of does it, but not nearly as bad as this thing does, and I don't know why. Nothing wrong with the fuel system. I mean, the injection pump's been overhauled. I mean, there's no reason. It's just the way it is. It's an ism. Once you get it there, it's fine. Just getting it there. So, well, like I say, tomorrow we got a few more things to do. Check the cylinder bars, check the walkers, get the hydro handle friction disc cleaned up so that it's not, you don't got to yank it through the console to try to get it to move. And I need to get a little skinny pry bar out here and peel the seal off of the rotary screen because it's stuck. So, one more evening altogether. So we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Okay, with any luck today, we're gonna have this thing finished up. At least to the point where I'll be satisfied with it. Really don't have a whole lot left to do. But before I fire it up, I'm gonna top off the coolant. I mean, it's right there. It can't be too far off of that sensor. And since this is concentrate, when we get up by the house, I'll dump a little bit of water in it just to even it out. But need to start having a couple antifreeze jugs laying around empty, so that when I get that, I can cut it and make two gallons of stuff ready to dump in. And the other thing I'm going to do is I bought some electrical cleaner for this glow plug connector. So now we can go ahead and drive it up by the house. Get it closer to the tools and get it out in some better lighting. All right, so we have to, well, the last thing I want to do is get that variable, or the hydro lever, freed up so it's not so sticky, because that makes moving in tight spots kind of a pain. So all we got to do is take these two nuts off, and that'll let the spring and everything come off. And then this side plate here, which has obviously been replaced because it doesn't have any red paint on it, that's got your friction disc on it. And all that does is sandwich this bell crank plate, and you got your linkage coming off the lever here down to your control cable there. So we just have to take all that apart. If I can get you to situated in a spot. You can't see there. Can you see there? You can see there, but I can't work around yet. We can go here. I think we can go there. I guess the other thing I might need to do too is probably get the brakes primed up on this thing since I'm here. I guess I've never really worried about it because it's a hydro. You never use the brakes. But I'm looking at the reservoir, and I guess I could probably think about getting that done. Alright, don't be like that. I've had this apart before. There we go. Just gotta find the right combination so you can squeeze the wrenches together. Suppose I could go grab a ratchet, but by the time I get down and go grab a ratchet and come back, I'll have the nut off, so I'll get one to put it back together with. And that's a carriage bolt. That's just a spacer. Yep, she's a little crusty again. So now all I got to do is take that pin out and take this nut off. Then we can take this plate with us. Alright, it's not too terrible, but it's got a spot of crap right there. And a spot of, it's not even rust. It's like, I don't know if it was dust that got wet and got hung up in there, but clean some of that off. There's a little bit right there on the bracket. And we'll put it back together, and hopefully that takes care of it. Otherwise, we're gonna have to, and I'm probably gonna do it anyway, but pop that boot off the cable and shoot it full of some WD-40 to lubricate the cable. Which, since I'm here, I might just do that anyhow. Well, I got it all cleaned up and back together, and it's still kind of stiff, which unfortunately means it's the cable. So I got that boot popped off, and we'll start running some slickum down through there and working it, and hopefully that'll free it up some. Okay, so after about 10 minutes of screwing around, actually it's probably longer than that, probably 15-20 minutes screwing around, just dribbling a little bit on the rim of the cable sheath at a time and just letting it soak down. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way to get a decent amount of lubricant in this at a shot without wasting a bunch. So I cleaned everything up and took a piece of duct tape and kind of made like a little makeshift funnelio, and it actually works pretty darn good, better than expected. You just fill it up, and it works its way down through into the cable rather quickly, and rinse and repeat. Alright, I think I'm gonna have to admit defeat on that cable. I've been working on it for 45 minutes and I can't really get a change out of it. it's got a couple pretty bad sticks in it. And generally on those push-pull PTO cables, once they start getting stiff, they're pretty much junk. You can sometimes get them freed up and they'll run for another season, and then you're right back to square one the minute they sit. So I think tomorrow I'll call Maybaugh and see what the odds are of getting a new one, if there's a new old stock one or new ones laying around. Otherwise I might have to live with it for this year, and when I get done this fall, take it off. And there's places that specialize in making those PTO cables, so getting a new one made wouldn't be that big of a deal. It just, you got to get it off so they got dimensions to copy it. So, but while I'm sitting right here, we are going to see if I can get the brakes working. When I got this thing from the guy, he said that the brakes would leak down after the season. So, but like I say, it was a hydro. You don't hardly ever use the brakes. You don't really need them unless you need turning brakes for some reason, or emergencies. And with everything else that we had to work on this thing, I never really worried about getting the brakes going. But well, it's full of fluid, so I wonder, do we just need, of course I guess if I'm going to gravity bleed this, I should have left the lines off. If I remember right, the pedals just go right to the floor. Yeah, there's not much pedal there. I think the bleeder screws down here, if I remember right. I thought. There's the cylinders. Oh yeah, they're bleeder screws. So I guess I'll see if I can crack one of them. I'll pull that cover back off so that it's not going to airlock on me. And there should be plenty of fall. So hopefully this will gravity bleed. Alright, well, a bit of good news. I couldn't get him to gravity bleed. So I went up and was fiddling around. And I was pressing the pedal trying to figure out, because my next step was going to be, okay, I either need to find something to keep the pedal pressed down or yada 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 so that I can bleed these things myself, because, you know, I don't have anybody here to help me right now. And I heard the springs down here, you know, making the twanging sound that springs make. And it's like, okay. So I get down here, I found a board that was the right length to keep the pedals pushed down and come down here. And they are indeed actuating, which means that the brakes actually probably just need adjusted, which is done with that nut right there, or that bolt right there, and that bolt right there. So that's a whole lot simpler than bleeding brakes. That being said, this is a perfect example of why I need to remember one of these days to just buy a vacuum brake bleeder with the little pump deal and the reclaim bottle and all that, because then it's real easy to bleed brakes by yourself. So anyway, we'll adjust these things up real quick and the brakes will be minty. Okay, so you just bust that jam nut loose right there, and then you can put a wrench on it, and we'll just okay, let's see what that gets us. basically it ain't no different than from this point on from adjusting brakes on a tractor. You get one set where it's we're gonna have to go see a little bit more out of it than that. All right, I obviously pulled the cover off so we could check on the cylinder bars. Wasn't expecting anything too out of the ordinary because I'm pretty sure he told me these were new bars when he had the combine gone through. But then they also had like 1,200, probably between 12 and 1,400 acres put through them before the combine got rolled over. So I think can't remember if he said he ran this for 2 seasons or a season before it got rolled over. Either way, this one you can't roll over by hand. The 525 and the 7300 are easy. This one, not so much. Definitely a couple corn cobs floating around in there. I don't see anything out of the ordinary, so Lily had to go on her cable because she kept trying to go across the street. So that should be good. Okay, there is one thing we gotta do real quick that I forgot to do yesterday. Check the oil in 2-speed gearbox for the cylinder drive. That gives you your high-low. So you've got corn, bean, wheat setting, small grain, all that fanciness, and there's just a check plug right here that you gotta take out. Yep, there's plenty of oil in it. Come on. No. This is a magnetic plug, and getting it restarted is a bit of a chore. All right. There we go. Oil looks fairly clean. So I believe we'll go ahead and call that good. Okay, and the last thing I want to do while we're on the subject is check out the walkers. I have never had more cobwebs end up on a combine I thought about blowing it off, but if I do, it's just gonna get covered again before harvest, so I'll blow it off when it actually comes time to go start using it. Well, all you guys are probably going to be able to see is a black hole. I'm not walking all the way down there. We'll go. There's a side door down there to inspect the front of the walkers. That keeps you from getting impaled on the walker risers. So, but at least the back 3/4 of them look pretty decent, other than back here where they get beat up by the chopper, which that's all combines with a chopper that run corn. All right, so obviously front of the walkers, basically we're just looking to make sure that there's no holes broke out in the front, because especially running corn, the cobs will come in and beat the front of these walkers and basically knock a section of the grating out. So I don't see any problems there. And then you got the grid grate, the back of the cylinder, and then that right there is your feeder beater, which is what strips the crop off the cylinder and throws it onto the walkers. It counter rotates to the cylinder. Well, I guess it rotates the same direction as the cylinder. So when the back of the cylinder's coming up, the front of the feeder beater's going down, and that's how it strips the crop off. So, but I don't see any major issues. So, and that's where we just were. The one thing that this machine does need, and it's one of them deals where I've known about it, it's just never gotten done because it works fine the way it is now. It's been more of a when its turn comes type of deal. It does need a grain pan. There's been a patch put in the front of the one that's in it, but they did a good job of patching it. I'm gonna have to scrape that out with a screwdriver. They did a good enough job of patching it that it actually, you gotta look for it. But there's a patch right down here in front under the cylinder. So last I knew, I think it was Schmidt Machine over in Ohio, still makes a drop-in grain pan for that. You got to use your pan frame. They just make the grating, whatever, it's not really a grate, whatever you want to call it, and then you bolt it into your old frame. They used to make them because when we redid the one in the 7300, they didn't make one narrow enough, so basically we had to buy one for an 8700 and cut it down to fit. But that's been many moons ago, so I don't know if they still carry a grain pan for it or not. I remember it was expensive. It was like $1,400, but $1,200-$1,400, something like that. So anyhow, well, with the exception of that hydro control cable, and I think because that 97-day corn behind mom and dad's is going to obviously be the first to shell, so that's where it's going to go first. But when the time comes, I'm probably going to take it over there. And when I got it over there, I'm probably going to do these two hoses on header lift, because that one right there's got jacket coming off of it, and there's exposed braiding. And the other ones, that one's original to the machine. It's got red paint on the fittings. The other one's been changed, but it's older, so get it over to Dad's where I've got all the stuff to do it, and put 2 new hoses on that real quick, and won't have to worry about blowing a hose going down the road or something, or out in the field and dumping 5 gallons of ATF all over, because you lose all that hydraulic fluid and the hydro goes dry, and then you burn the hydro up, and it's just all downhill from there. So why you whining? If you'd stay home, you wouldn't have to go on your cable. Yeah, if you would stay home, you wouldn't. And I don't know where you were because you're all covered in prickers, so I gotta brush you out real quick. Don't worry. So anyway, sorry this video is kind of weird and chopped up and that didn't flow very well. I'm not set up to do maintenance stuff over here very well, so I did what I could, to the best that I could. So anyway, I think that's enough for this one. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.